A 63-year-old man woke up one ordinary morning with a tight, heavy pressure sitting across his chest. It wasn't sharp, it wasn't dramatic, it just felt uncomfortable. 10 minutes later it faded, so he told himself it was heartburn from last night's dinner, ate his breakfast, and went about his day like nothing had happened. 2 mornings later, the exact same feeling came back. Only this time it didn't fade after 10 minutes. It didn't fade at all. By the time he reached my emergency department, he was in the middle of a full heart attack. Here's the part that still bothers me, years later. His body had already warned him, 2 days earlier. He just didn't know what he was looking at. I'm Dr. Mason, an emergency physician, and after more than a decade working frontline shifts, I can tell you that mornings are, statistically, the single most dangerous window of the day for your heart. Not evening, not during a workout, the first few hours after you open your eyes. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 things your body might be telling you first thing in the morning, starting with the one that's usually harmless, and building up to the one you should never, ever wait on. By the end, you'll know exactly which symptoms mean book a routine appointment, and which ones mean call an ambulance right now. Stick with me to the end, because sign 4 is the one that saves lives. And if content like this matters to you, hit subscribe now, because next week I'm breaking down the silent signs of stroke that most people miss until it's too late. Before we get into the 4 signs, I want you to understand why mornings are so different, because every symptom on this list connects back to this one idea. While you sleep, your entire body powers down. Your blood pressure drops, your heart rate slows, your heart, quite literally, gets to rest for the first time in 16 or 18 hours. It's the closest thing your cardiovascular system gets to a vacation. Then you wake up, and within minutes, everything reverses at once. Your brain floods your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline, your body's 2 main stress hormones, to physically switch you on for the day. Blood pressure can jump by 10, 15, even 20 points within that first hour alone. Your heart rate climbs, and the instant you swing your legs out of bed and stand up, gravity suddenly demands that your heart pump much harder just to keep blood flowing up to your brain. That's a second surge on top of the first. At the exact same time, your blood is at its thickest and stickiest point of the entire day. You've gone 6, 7, 8 hours without a single sip of water, while still losing fluid through breathing and sweat. Thicker blood clots more easily, so stack all of that together, a spike in blood pressure, a spike in heart rate, and blood that's more prone to clotting, all landing in the same 60 to 90-minute window. That is exactly why the medical literature, and honestly just my own experience in the emergency department, shows heart attacks, strokes, and dangerous heart rhythms cluster overwhelmingly between roughly 6 in the morning and noon. If there is a weak point anywhere in your cardiovascular system, morning is when it tends to reveal itself. That's why every symptom in this video is one to specifically pay attention to first thing in the day, not necessarily at 3 in the afternoon, but right when you wake up. Let's start with the mildest one. The first sign is also the easiest to brush off, because on the surface it doesn't even look like a heart problem, it looks like tiredness. I mean waking up feeling drained, even after what should have been a full 8 hours. Groggy, foggy, like you barely slept at all. It becomes a real red flag when it's paired with a few other clues. Loud, regular snoring, a partner who tells you that you gasp for air in your sleep, or seem to briefly stop breathing, or waking up with a dry mouth and a headache that fades within an hour. That combination often points toward a condition called obstructive sleep apnea. Here's what's actually happening. During sleep, the soft tissue at the back of your throat relaxes. For most people, that's harmless. But for someone with sleep apnea, that tissue relaxes enough to partially or fully block the airway, sometimes dozens or even hundreds of times a night. Each time that happens, your oxygen level briefly drops, and your body responds the way it would to any emergency. It releases a burst of stress hormones and jolts you into a lighter stage of sleep, just enough to reopen the airway. You almost never remember any of this happening, but your heart does. Every single one of those oxygen dips forces your heart to work harder and your blood pressure to spike, night after night, year after year. Over time, this chronic, repeated strain is strongly linked to high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, heart attacks, and heart failure. It's one of the most underdiagnosed conditions I see walk into my emergency room in people who had no idea anything was wrong with their heart until it suddenly was. So, what do you actually do about it? This is not an emergency. You do not need to call an ambulance over this, but I would not ignore it either. Book a routine appointment with your doctor and specifically ask about a sleep study or a sleep apnea assessment. It's a simple, non-invasive way to get a real answer. While you're waiting for that appointment, because, let's be honest, sleep clinics can have long wait lists, there are a few things worth doing in the meantime. If you carry extra weight, especially around the neck, gradual weight loss can meaningfully reduce airway blockage. Try sleeping on your side instead of on your back. Lying flat on your back lets soft tissue, and for some people, extra weight around the neck press down onto the airway. Side sleeping takes a lot of that pressure off. And cut back on alcohol, particularly in the few hours before bed. Alcohol relaxes the muscles in your throat, which makes both the snoring and the breathing pauses measurably worse. None of that replaces a proper diagnosis, but it's a sensible starting point while you wait to be seen. The second sign is noticing that your heartbeat feels off the moment you wake up, racing, fluttering, thumping hard, or skipping beats while you're just lying there. I want to be upfront here. An occasional skipped beat, on its own, is usually harmless. Honestly, I get the odd flutter myself some mornings, usually after a rough night's sleep or a hard workout the day before. One single thump, then nothing, no other symptoms, and I feel completely fine otherwise. That pattern, a rare skipped beat with no other symptoms, is extremely common and typically nothing to worry about. What matters far more than did I feel a skip is the pattern of your pulse. And this is the important distinction to understand. A pulse that's irregularly irregular, meaning there's genuinely no consistent pattern to it at all, just a chaotic, unpredictable rhythm, can be a sign of a condition called atrial fibrillation, or AFib for short. It's the most common abnormal heart rhythm doctors see. In AFib, the heart's upper chambers, the atria, stop beating in their normal coordinated rhythm and instead quiver rapidly and erratically. The danger with AFib isn't really the irregular beat itself, it's what that irregular beat allows to happen. When the atria quiver instead of contracting properly, blood can pool and sit relatively still inside them instead of being pushed through efficiently. Blood that sits still is blood that's prone to clotting, and if a clot forms in the heart and breaks loose, it can travel directly to the brain and cause a stroke. That's why AFib is treated seriously, even when someone otherwise feels completely fine. Here's a simple habit I genuinely recommend. While you're still lying in bed in the morning, take 30 seconds to feel your pulse at your wrist, the radial artery, on the thumb side. Just notice, is it ticking along steadily, like a clock, or is it jumping around with no rhythm at all? If it's irregular only occasionally, comes and goes, and you otherwise feel completely well, no breathlessness, no chest discomfort, no dizziness, this is something to bring to a routine doctor's appointment. They'll likely order an ECG and some basic blood work to check things like your thyroid function and electrolytes. If your heart is racing or irregular and it simply will not settle, or if it comes with feeling faint, unwell, or any chest symptoms at all, don't wait for a routine appointment. Call for emergency help. One more practical tool worth mentioning. Consumer smartwatches have gotten genuinely useful for this. Many can track your heart rate continuously and flag irregular rhythms that might suggest AFib. It's not a substitute for a real ECG, but if you have episodes that come and go unpredictably, a smartwatch can catch something that a single doctor's visit might miss entirely. If anything ever feels seriously wrong in the moment, though, the answer is always the same. Call an ambulance and let the professionals sort out the rest. Sign 3 is more serious, and it's one I want you to take genuinely seriously if it applies to you. Waking up breathless, or being unable to breathe comfortably while lying flat. There are actually two distinct patterns here, and doctors have specific names for both. The first is called orthopnea, breathlessness that happens specifically when you lie flat. It tends to creep up slowly. You might not even notice it happening at first. You just start reaching for one extra pillow, then another, until one day you realize you're basically sleeping propped up at a 45-degree angle, or even sitting upright in a chair without ever consciously deciding to change your habits. I've had patients tell me they'd been sleeping sitting up in a recliner for years before they ever mentioned it to anyone, simply because it happened so gradually they adjusted without realizing something was wrong. The second pattern is called paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, or PND. This one is far more sudden and frightening. It's when you wake up abruptly, 1 or 2 hours into sleep, gasping for air with a genuine sensation of suffocating, a feeling severe enough that you sit bolt upright, throw open a window, and need several minutes standing or sitting before your breathing settles. Let me explain what's actually going on in your body, because understanding the mechanism makes it much easier to take seriously. Your heart is fundamentally a pump. Its job is to keep blood moving forward, out to your body and back again, without letting it build up anywhere. When your heart's pumping ability weakens, even mildly, blood starts to back up behind it, and that pressure eventually pushes fluid out of your blood vessels and into the surrounding tissue, including your lungs. Think of your lungs like a sponge that's slowly, gradually taking on more and more water over time. During the day, while you're upright, gravity works in your favor. It pulls that extra fluid downward, away from your lungs and into your legs and ankles. This is actually why one of the earliest signs of heart strain is swelling around the ankles that shows up by evening. That's the fluid gravity has pulled down over the course of the day. But the moment you lie flat to sleep, gravity stops helping you. All of that fluid that had pooled in your legs redistributes and drains right back up toward your chest. In a healthy heart, that returning fluid gets pumped straight through without issue. In a heart that's struggling, it can't keep up, and the fluid backs up into the lungs instead. Your lungs, that sponge, get waterlogged. And the more fluid sitting in lung tissue, the less room there is for oxygen to actually get into your bloodstream. That heavy, suffocating, drowning feeling people describe with PND is quite literally close to what's happening, fluid crowding out your lungs' ability to do their job. Sitting upright helps immediately because it lets gravity pull that fluid back down and out of your chest. Together, orthopnea and PND are classic warning signs of a condition called heart failure, which simply means the heart isn't pumping strongly enough to keep up with the body's demands. Despite the name, it doesn't mean the heart has failed or stopped. It means it's struggling and needs support and treatment. These are not symptoms to quietly monitor for a few months and see how things go. Here's what I'd actually want you to do. If you're regularly waking up breathless, or you've noticed you need more pillows than you did 6 months ago just to breathe comfortably, get in to see a doctor within days, not weeks. And if you ever wake up with sudden, severe breathlessness that isn't improving, especially alongside chest pain, or a bluish tinge to your lips or fingertips, treat that as a genuine emergency. Call for emergency help immediately. And now, sign 4, the most serious symptom on this entire list, and the one this whole video has been building toward. Any new tightness, pressure, or pain across your chest first thing in the morning, particularly one that shows up as you start moving around, getting washed, or getting dressed, deserves your full attention. People rarely describe this as a sharp, stabbing pain. Far more often, it's described as a heaviness. A tight band wrapped around the chest. The sensation of something heavy like a weight sitting directly on top of you. That pressure can also spread into one or both arms, up into the jaw or neck, or through to the back, and it often shows up alongside sweating, nausea, or shortness of breath. There's an important distinction worth understanding here, because it changes what you should do. If this pressure comes on specifically with physical effort, walking up a hill, climbing stairs, carrying something heavy, and then reliably eases once you stop and rest, that pattern is called stable angina. It happens because, under increased demand, your heart muscle isn't getting quite enough blood flow, usually due to a partial blockage in one of the arteries supplying it. It's a genuine warning sign that needs medical attention and shouldn't be ignored, but the fact that it eases with rest is an important clue. But if that same chest pressure comes on and does not ease with rest, or if it starts even while you're sitting still, doing nothing at all, that is the pattern of a heart attack. This is exactly what happened to the man I described at the start of this video. Pressure that came, went away, and then returned 2 days later and simply didn't stop. This is the one sign on this entire list where I want to be completely direct with you. This is not a wait-and-see symptom. If you experience any new chest pain, any pain more severe than anything you felt before, or any chest discomfort that lasts more than a few minutes, call emergency services immediately. Whatever the emergency number is where you live, call it right away. Do not drive yourself to the hospital. Do not wait for a friend or family member to come pick you up. Every one of those choices costs precious minutes, and minutes are exactly what matters here. Think about the absolute worst-case version of this. It genuinely is a heart attack, and you've just spent 30 minutes waiting, driving, or hesitating. That's 30 extra minutes of heart muscle being starved of oxygen, muscle that, once damaged this way, does not grow back. I know that sounds heavy to hear, but I'd rather you have the full picture than a comfortable one. So those are the 4 morning warning signs, from mildest to most urgent. Before you go, I want to bring this all back to something simple, because I don't want this video to leave you anxious every single morning for the rest of your life. Most morning aches, pains, and odd sensations really are completely harmless. The entire point of this video isn't to frighten you, It's to help you tell the difference between what can wait for a routine appointment and what genuinely cannot wait a single minute.